Medusa is one of the most infamous figures in Greek mythology, often depicted as a creature with a head of writhing snakes, whose gaze can turn anyone to stone. However, there is no direct mention of Medusa in the Bible. Despite this, her story can be intertwined with biblical themes, symbols, and ideas. By exploring the mythological origins of Medusa and drawing parallels with biblical motifs, we can weave a narrative that blends her myth with theological reflection. The myth of Medusa is typically set in the ancient world, where gods, mortals, and creatures roam freely. Medusa's story begins as that of a beautiful maiden, blessed with a face so enchanting that it could stop men in their tracks. She was a priestess of Athena, the goddess of wisdom, and served in the temple of the goddess in ancient Athens. In this sacred role, Medusa was bound by a vow of chastity, dedicated to serving her goddess and protecting the sanctity of the temple. However, Medusa's beauty would ultimately become her curse. It is said that Poseidon, the god of the sea, became enamored with her and desired her. Whether it was by force or seduction is a matter of debate, but Medusa was violated by Poseidon in the very temple where she was sworn to remain pure. This act of desecration enraged Athena, who felt that Medusa had betrayed her sacred oath, even though it was Poseidon who had wronged her. Athena, in her anger and divine justice, cursed Medusa, transforming her hair into a mass of venomous snakes and giving her the ability to turn anyone who gazed upon her into stone. Medusa's transformation was a punishment not only for her violation of sacred vows but also for the apparent violation of divine order. The concept of beauty and purity, so highly valued in ancient Greek culture, was corrupted in Medusa. Her once splendid hair, which symbolized innocence and grace, became a grotesque manifestation of her fall from grace. The snakes, writhing on her head, became a physical symbol of her internal torment, and the petrifying gaze she possessed became a metaphor for the way in which sin and corruption could freeze or destroy what was pure. Although Medusa's myth is steeped in Greek mythology, parallels can be drawn to biblical ideas of sin, temptation, and punishment. In the Bible, there are numerous stories of individuals who are punished by God for their transgressions, often in ways that are both symbolic and terrifying. The story of Adam and Eve, for example, speaks to the fall of humanity due to their disobedience in the Garden of Eden. Just as Medusa was once a beautiful and innocent figure who fell from grace, so too did Eve, who, after being tempted by the serpent, fell victim to sin. The serpent, a creature that symbolizes temptation and deceit, is reminiscent of the snakes in Medusa's hair. Medusa's transformation into a monster could be seen as a metaphor for the corrupting power of sin. Just as Eve's disobedience led to the fall of humanity, Medusa's violation of the sacred temple led to her monstrous form. The consequences of their actions were irreversible, much like the irreversible curse that Medusa carried. In both stories, the individuals were punished not only by the gods but also by society, which viewed them as outcasts or symbols of disgrace. Medusa, once a beautiful and revered priestess, was transformed into a feared creature, and Eve, once the mother of all living, became a symbol of mankind's fall from grace. Medusa's story continues as one of isolation and fear. Cast away from society, she retreated to a remote island, where she lived in exile, hiding from the world that once admired her. Her transformation had made her an outcast, a creature whose gaze could turn anyone to stone, and she was feared by all who knew of her. In this solitude, she became a symbol of both beauty and terror, a reminder of the fragile nature of human existence and the consequences of straying from divine law. It was not long before the hero Perseus came into the story. Perseus, the son of Zeus and Danae, was tasked with a seemingly impossible mission: to slay Medusa and bring her head as a trophy. Perseus was aided by the gods, who provided him with magical tools to aid in his quest. Athena, the same goddess who had cursed Medusa, gave him a reflective shield, while Hermes provided him with winged sandals to help him reach Medusa's lair. These gifts were not just tools but symbolic aids, representing the intersection of divine justice and human agency. When Perseus arrived at Medusa's lair, he did not look directly at her, knowing that her gaze would turn him to stone. Instead, he used the reflective shield, glancing at her image in the surface of the shield. Through this clever tactic, Perseus was able to avoid Medusa's deadly gaze, and he eventually decapitated her. From her blood sprang the winged horse Pegasus, a symbol of transformation and new life emerging from the destruction. In biblical terms, Perseus's victory over Medusa could be seen as a metaphor for the triumph of good over evil. with Perseus representing divine justice and Medusa representing the consequences of sin. Just as Christ's death on the cross represents victory over sin and death in Christian theology, Perseus's slaying of Medusa represents the conquering of corruption and temptation. The idea that something good can come from something dark and destructive is a recurring theme in biblical narratives, from the resurrection of Christ to the redemption of sinners. The story of Medusa, though it originates in Greek mythology, contains elements that resonate with the biblical story of redemption. Both stories are about transformation, punishment, and the possibility of new life emerging from destruction. Medusa's head, once a symbol of beauty and grace, became a powerful symbol of death and corruption, yet from her decapitated body came Pegasus, a symbol of freedom and transcendence. In both Greek mythology and the Bible, there is a recurring theme of duality, the juxtaposition of beauty and terror, purity and corruption, life and death. Medusa's curse can be seen as a reflection of the way sin and temptation can twist what is pure, but the eventual hero's triumph over her also echoes the idea of redemption and restoration. The snakes that once represented Medusa's curse are now symbols of the transformative power of divine intervention, and the death that Medusa once embodied is transformed into a new form of life and possibility. While the Bible does not explicitly mention Medusa, her story can be viewed as a reflection of certain biblical themes, such as the consequences of sin, the possibility of redemption, and the transformation of evil into good. Her story serves as a reminder of the ways in which divine justice can both punish and redeem, and how even in the darkest moments, there is the potential for new life to emerge. Just as Perseus's victory over Medusa led to the birth of Pegasus, so too can the darkest moments of human existence give rise to new hope and possibility through divine grace. In the end, Medusa's story is not just a tale of punishment and transformation, but also a reflection of the complex relationship between sin, redemption, and divine intervention. Her journey from beauty to monstrosity, from exile to death, and ultimately to the birth of new life, serves as a powerful reminder of the ways in which the divine interacts with the world, shaping destinies and offering the possibility of renewal. Though she is often remembered as a monster, Medusa's tale is also one of profound transformation, one that mirrors the theological journey of humanity itself, from fall to redemption, from death to life. We have gotten to the end of the story of Medusa and how she turned to be a fury creature. If you find this interesting, kindly like, subscribe and comment. God bless you.